all centred up.
Eh.
You're doing up a peely wally, is it this camera?
Aye, aye. Fucking off. Every 3 days I've got to put my passcode in this thing.
Have you?
Aye, because 3 days it just rejects a fingerprint and that's your passcode. Right, let's see if we've got that up. Yep. Just kill that.
Yep.
Stephen Kelly. Hi, Stephen. Hi, John.
Hello. Right.
Oh,
I'll get the Facebook up. Here we go.
David.
You got it up? Oh yeah.
Aye, but if you want to stick them up, because I sometimes just get to tell who's there. I don't get to see the rest.
I'll get it up anyway. Here we go. There we are.
Aye. Glad to hear there was folk in the waiting room waiting for it starting. Thanks, guys. I should have put the YouTube up.
John McNeely, Lorna Shields, Melanie McCain, Jane Loveland. Welcome,
Hi, Margaret. John, Rose, Ross, Evelyn, with Pet, Last Braveheart. Who else we got? Margaret, Diane, Rosemary, Jim, with Pet again, Stephen, Brian, Jordy, and George. Oh, plenty. They're all doing well.
Flooding in now. Here we go.
Numbers are climbing nicely.
Neil McLean, Stuart Crockett, Melanie McCain. Oh, right. Mags McLaughlin.
Hey. Hi, Sandra. Hi, Mev. We're starting to batter in, David, but we've got a lot to get through, so we better get on with it. There's an awful lot to get on with today, so you're just going to have to catch up, folks, if we've already started. So, been a busy week, David, is it no?
Yes. The first part that we're going to do, which is about the Sudan, right? For a foreign minister to put his face in front of a TV camera and say, look, guys, if you sit in your house and you do nothing, you're going to get left behind. You've got to actually start running to the collection point now.
Aye.
Right? And these people at that time had 12 hours. It was 10 o'clock he made that announcement, right? These people had 12 hours. They could be sitting looking at people from the rebel side, rebel force or whatever. They could have blooming snipers all over the place, and you're sat in a house. What should have happened is there should have been transport laid on to go around the place and pick people up.
But more importantly, I go to the diplomat suit first and then tell people to make the right to the port of Sudan.
No, and then tell people to stay where they are.
Aye, initially tell them to stay where they are. And then when they brokered that ceasefire, tell them to make the right to the port of Sudan, which they could have been hundreds, maybe thousands of miles away from. And of course the airfield, the main airfield there as well.
Yeah, but you've got to understand, it's like as one of the reporters quite rightly said, this is not like the UK. You don't make your way to a motorway and then you're at the airport in like 15, 20 minutes. If that airport is 15, 20 minutes away at motorway speed, at Sudan speed, you're talking a few hours.
Could be, aye. Especially with all the people trying to get there.
Yeah.
For all the different nations.
That's right.
So as usual, a bit like Afghanistan, slow off the mark and absolutely pish poorly organised. I mean, I was listening to Radio Scotland and they were talking to a Scottish fella who was there. And he says, I'm not waiting in these bomb ports, I could get stuck here. He says, I'm making my own way. I'm getting out.
Yeah.
And he was saying to BBC Radio Scotland, the Pravda, that the UK government had been absolutely no good at all.
Yeah.
So
this is the problem. This is what I'm seeing as being the problem. These people that are in charge of the UK government, that are ministers, they have no thought of anybody else. There is no compassion in their souls. Yeah, no empathy with people that are stuck in a frightening situation. What are you laughing at?
I'm just thinking about it, but we'll get to that when we get to the migration. Well, I was just laughing at something that was said in the comments.
All right.
You just brought it to mind there when you were talking about that. You know?
But I mean, it just seems to me as if they don't give a toss. They don't give a toss. You know, if you got a phone call of someone in the middle of the night from another country that you didn't know, and they were screaming at you, "I need to get out of here," you'd be honestly trying to find something to do, even though you don't have the powers of the UK government. You know.
Thanks, Heather. It's nice to know we're looking grand.
Yeah.
Right, so Sudan, the evacuation badly organised, late to the point as usual. Hadn't they been in there first dibs to get spaces at airports to get people out?
Yeah.
Thanks, Alexis. And they carry on with people having to make their way to the port of Sudan, you know, to get onto a ship that had been there, a naval ship. But I don't think we've covered that. Let's move on to number 3. Or number 2, number 3. Number 2, sorry. Tuesday.
Hang on, David, hang on. Nathan's got a bloody good question. If somebody gets airlifted from the Sudan, do they pay for the flight costs?
I have absolutely no idea, David.
I know, neither do I. Good question, though, Nathan. It'd be nice to actually follow that one up.
Did you get a crack of there and all? How far from Rwanda is Sudan? Thanks, Roddy. That's very generous of you, and we will get there, folks. We'll get to Rwanda and things like that shortly.
Yeah.
All right. So, second up, Stephen Flynn demands a full control of energy policy be devolved to strengthen devolution. Now, what Flynn wants is control over oil, gas, and of course the full production, because it was pointed out to him, you already have control of energy because we can issue some license. He wants to put out a license in the North Sea, basically.
Well, also, what you'll be thinking of is nuclear. They are just about ready to go, we'll put a few of these Rolls-Royce nuclear generators round about Scotland. At least if they're in Scotland, it's not going to harm anybody here, is it?
Aye, but as you know, we're using our planning laws to stop the buggers. You know, until, of course, they overrule our planning laws, the way they're doing with English councils at the moment. The people of England have no idea how many of their liberties have been stripped away by the centralised powers of this government. None.
And the reason we keep saying stuff like this is to try and wake a key few people in England up so that they can pass the information to other people that they know. We're not telling you lies, guys. We're basically yeah, you know, this is
we're making it up. So if you're watching here in England and you didn't realise that the planning permission has basically been centralised and taken away from your councils, look it up, folks.
Yeah. Wow.
Right, let's move on. Yusuf fires in demand for Section 30. Not a request. When he was there, he demanded that Scottish democracy was respected. Now, we know that Sunak just sat like a plank of lint and said nothing.
I understand he's been given Sunak has been given a time, if you like, and you've got 48 hours or you've got 3 weeks or whatever. Did he actually give him a time limit on responding to it?
Well, I wasn't in the room.
Right.
But I do know that he didn't ask him to tell it. He actually demanded that the democracy be respected in the issues of Section 30 order. Of course, Sunak's going to ignore him.
Yeah.
But once that a letter comes in, you can bet your boots that Humza is going to have to sit down and look at it and say, well, plebiscite election, dude. And he's probably already telling them about a plebiscite election. Now, they'll be quite confident because they think the SNP is going to go backwards.
Yeah.
I've got a funny feeling there's going to be a hell of a backlash at this election. I've got a feeling the SNP are going to do really, really well.
Yeah.
Especially as the Section 35 start to get in. We've got idiots like Frost demanding that the Scottish Parliament be stripped of its powers. We've got Starmer saying that devolution is a failed experiment. You can see where this has gone, kiddies.
Yeah.
That Parliament that we voted for should only be able to get rid. They should only be able to get rid of that Parliament if we vote to get rid of it.
Yeah. But also, here's the other rub. is the fact that more stuff that is coming out about Starmer is opening a few eyes up and down the UK. You know,
we'll get to that in a few minutes. I don't think Labour is painted on as they are, and as the polls start to narrow a wee bit, we maybe get another hung parliament down that road.
Yeah.
Because what will happen is the Tories will be looking at things and they'll hang out for as long as they can. But what we do know is that Starmer is not to be trusted, but we'll get to that when we get to the next subject. So what the use of demands?
So it'd be a good idea to become a Lib Dem politician, would it?
Apparently, the Tory government have won the nurses' strike is unlawful, so it looks like the nurses are going to ballot again.
Yeah.
You know?
Can you believe? Can you actually believe any government taking the nurses to court?
No, I can't. I can't. But it's outrageous.
Yeah.
Right, let's move on. UK government emergency alert. Now, I want to put this one to bed, David, because you and I speculated on whether Sunak's wife was involved. Well, the answer is no. In this particular instance, she wasn't involved in the emergency alert. The original contract was given to Fujitsu, and he subbed it out to a mob in Florida who made an arse of the Florida system, their hurricane alert system, and tsunami alert systems. So, folks, let's put that one to bed. Sunak's wife had nothing to do with the emergency alert system in the UK. But what it did do in a wee bit of background was I went onto the government website to see what contracts Emphasis have won from the UK government. Since Rishi Sunak became Chancellor, I think that was since 2015, Emphasis, Rishi Sunak's wife and father-in-law's company have won 27 UK contracts, total on a value of 176 million quid.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just the company direct, his father-in-law's company. When we look at companies that put their fingers in the pot with, like this childcare company who's just won the pilot scheme down that road to pilot their new childcare thing, increased childcare hours. Well, his wife's got an interest in one of these 6 companies that were picked in the pilot. So you need to have a look at where Insavoy or Voice have their fingers in other pies to get an actual idea of the total amount of money that the Sunaks are ripping out the public purse.
Mm-hmm.
So mental. So there you go. I wanted to put that one to bed. Sunak's wife wasn't involved in the emergency alert system.
Yeah,
and I didn't say I would know for sure by the time we come on the next time. So you know for sure.
Yeah, as you've just said, she's not without blame, let's say, right?
No.
Many other issues. And for as long as Sunak is Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, stuff like this will continue to happen. Okay.
But we did this under Theresa May with her husband.
Yes, that's right.
And the amount of work at G4 escorting contracts when she was PM.
But also, she paid for 12 million security data package. Security.
12 billion, David. No million, billion.
I said billion, right? Billion. And for that, we don't know because nobody actually phoned us up and told us, we think that she managed to get her husband's name airbrushed off the World Wide Web. That takes a lot of doing.
Yes.
But he disappeared. And the Group 4 security was all over the place. And he was the man at the top of it. And they were getting loads of contracts at the time. So Rishi Sunak is basically doing the same with his wife. And it will continue to happen for as long as Rishi Sunak is Prime Minister.
Yep. Can he trust a Tory?
Yeah, that's right.
Anyway, let's move on to the illegal migration bill passing its second reading, shall we? What did you make of what Jenrick had to say? Was that disgusting?
It was well named, and the language that he was using whilst he was doing that second reading of that particular bill. Bloody hell, man. Honestly. right, I'm going to tell you something that's a wee bit personal, right? And this may give people a wee bit of information as to how some minds work. I was married to a lass down in England, right? And she started talking about people that were on the brew, right? Living on benefits, right? And the way she was talking about them was that they had no right to that because she didn't get that. And I quizzed her about it quite a lot. The problem is that at the time I wasn't political and I was living with a Tory, right? And that's the Tory mind. That's the Tory mindset. These people, they literally object to anybody getting something that they haven't got, right? And that's the truth of it. It's a different culture. Not every English people does that, but there are this group of people called Tories generally that have that way of thinking. Okay.
Aye, but let's go about it. You were right about it being well named, the illegal migration bill, because it breaks international law.
Well, you know, we had the situation where Joanna, our SNP MP, standing up and saying, "No, it's Suella Braverman accepted that the bill most likely won't be legal in the ECHR, right?"
Aye.
And you know, Jenrick wobbled over that, and then Cox, the Tory.
Aye, the previous Attorney General got up on it.
He was the law guy way back, months back. He basically said, "Why are we doing this? Why on earth are we doing this?" I was actually hoping last night that it was going to get bounced because there was actual human beings still live on this planet, right, and actually still inhabit the House of Commons. However, the amendment that the SNP put through, which was basically going to turn the whole thing on its head and put it back to square one, was beaten. It was beaten 292 to 230, I think it was, right?
Aye.
And as far as I'm concerned, 60 politicians, that was nothing. It really, really was not. We were just 60 politicians short of getting that wicked bill thrown out.
Aye.
And it didn't happen, guys. And I went to bed last night and I was sickened. I really, really was.
Some of the language in that debate, David, I was horrified.
Yeah.
And you were right when you said before we come on, we now live in a pariah state by association.
Yeah, that's right.
You know, Scotland is a country that's now part of a pariah state, you know, by association.
If we could manage to get the word to them, look, land in Scotland, we'll get you in somehow, right?
We'll take you somehow.
You know, it's dreadful, really is.
Aye. Maybe you and I could put a word out for them and go as far north as we can and then come across.
That's right, yeah. That's the way. Vikings did it. The Vikings did it in all wooden Viking boats.
Get yourself just over the Scottish border, where the seas are not going to be that much wider than the English Channel, and where it's not going to be that much rougher than the English Channel.
That's right. Yeah.
But some of the language last night, some honesty.
It was disgusting. It was absolutely disgusting, and I can't say it more than I've already said. It's just that I wish we were away. I wish we were already.
Oh, that last night. I mean, anybody in Scotland watching that last night must have been bloody horrified.
Yeah, I know.
And I thought Alison Thulissow at the end was very, very good when she said, "Refugees are welcome here."
Yeah.
Say it loud, say it clear.
Yeah.
The refugees are welcome here.
Yeah.
In fact, I was going to put my "Refugees are welcome here" t-shirt on the day, you know.
Yeah.
And that last night was, as we keep saying, there's only one race, and that's a human race.
That's right.
But it would appear that some of the monsters in Westminster are not part of the human race.
Yeah.
They have no compassion, as you said.
Yeah.
You know, and this idea that it's a problem created by Brexit.
Yes.
We had the Dublin Agreement, use people doing that road.
Yeah.
who are now screaming about migrants coming across. Prior to Brexit, we could send them back to France.
Yeah.
Mental. So, Generic was what an appalling human being. Right, where are we? Let's move on to Starmer and his Labour Party. 91,000 members lost and 4.8 million in the red.
Mm-hmm.
Which means that no matter how far out they are out in front in the polls at the moment, it doesn't look as if they're going to be able to afford to put up much of a fight in the next election.
So you're saying they're 4.8 million in the red?
Aye.
Mm.
They must be getting near the limit with the Electoral Commission steps in and says, "Hoy." Now, I wonder how much they get each year in the short money. I might look it up.
Yeah. Wonder what they spend it on, eh?
Aye. But what I do know is if they're that far overdrawn at this point in time, that means a lot of the trade unions have opted out of affiliation with Labour. And of course, a lot of trade union members, especially here in Scotland, will have opted out of paying their dues to Labour.
Yeah.
But apparently the loss of 91,000 members has cost them 8 million odds.
Yeah.
And I was thinking to myself, what must they make in dues?
Yeah.
No. So Labour are really in the poo. It would appear that the big three actually here in the UK are on financial turmoil at this point in time. The Tories, the big backers, are all flowing for way for him. They didn't go to Starmer the way Starmer was hoping. So he'd been ignoring the trade unions.
Mm-hmm.
And the SNP at the moment is piling money on, thank Christ.
Yeah.
And members.
That's right.
And the other thing about Starmer, he's not to be trusted, folks, and the reason being is all the pledges he made to win the leadership contest down that road to displace Corbyn, he has now welched on them all. The latest one being a move to proportional representation. He sees no value in it, even though as part of his fight to get the Labour leadership, he agreed that it was time to move on to proportional representation.
Yeah, if Starmer looks as if he's going to win number 10, there is no way that he will change any of the rules for voting in MPs to the House of Commons.
No. But, I mean, almost every pledge he made to win that contest, he is now overturned. No renationalisation of utilities, like you said.
That's right.
No reform of the voting system.
Yeah.
And all his policies are mirror the Tory party policies at the moment. As I've said, he's getting us ready for continuity government. He said he wouldn't end austerity.
Yeah. Well, the one thing's for certain, as far as independence is concerned, there is no way that Section 30 order is coming anytime soon from either Tory or the Labour or whatever coalition government comes about, right? So independence, we've got to take it. We've got to take it, and it's got to be done whereby it's done through a general election, either a Scottish general election or an English general election.
A UK general election.
Yeah. And it just literally, we take it, and then we ask our international friends, will you recognise Scotland as an independent country? Yes, right, fine.
Well, I noticed the EU ambassador got right up the Tory party and Westminster government's nose anyway, didn't he? Yeah. Because they didn't ask Westminster permission for whom to use it to go and see them.
That's right.
They invited Whom's Allang while he was down in London to see them.
And they have every right to do that,
And they didn't ask permission for Westminster first.
That's right.
Did Whom's have Mr. Cleverly's monkeys on his back when he went to see the EU ambassador? EU ambassador probably wouldn't let him in the fucking room.
Yeah.
Okay, right, let's move on.
Things like this are done as a political slap in the face because the Westminster and the like James Cleverly has given that order to all of the embassies and all the rest of it, that has been the response. Is that, all right, fine, we'll invite the First Minister of Scotland for a nice meal. Yeah.
Heather, you would be right in the UK government having taken all the powers away from the Electoral Commission, but whether that means that postal votes will be counted at the nearest HQs, I don't know.
Yeah.
But let's move on. UK government flatly refuses inquiry into Brexit effect and refuses the debate that should come forward because the Petitions Commission has presented this.
Yeah.
Sorry, a petition has been presented to Petitions Committee. With over 100,000 signatures wanting a debate on the Brexit effects.
Yeah.
And the Tories have just flatly refused an inquiry or a big debate on it.
Well, this thing about putting in petitions, I see petitions every week online, and I just, there might have been one or two debates run, but there's been nothing to do with like debates regarding Scottish independence or Brexit or anything like that at all, right? It'll never happen.
Dylan, David, quickly. Dylan, next Saturday, it'll be muster at Kelvingrove Park.
Yep.
And it'll be marched through Glasgow to Glasgow Green. Okay, and the set-off time is 11:30.
It's the usual wee road up at the side of Kelvin Hall. Kelvin Hall? Yeah.
And, I dare say we'll see you at the other end, David, because
I'll be at the receiving end waiting for you. All right. So right. I'll be getting a nice cup of tea or a nice cup of coffee off the lasses at Indy 2 Cafe.
I hope that clears it up for you, Dylan. Okay. As I say, muster there between 9 and 11:30 because it's kicking off 11:30 sharp.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Where are we? So. Did anybody surprised that the Tories don't want an inquiry into the Brexit effect?
Oh dear. They want to just ignore it and walk away from it.
Did you see Marion Pukas rip Jacob Rees-Mogg a new arsehole on GB News?
Yes, I did.
That was a stroke of genius.
The problem is that regarding Brexit, the people that made from it, were the ERG, the people that didn't make from it and were hoodwinked into believing in it were people in the Tory party that don't know whether it's New York or New Year, and there's a lot of them, right?
Thanks for that bit of information, Scottish Independence. I'll stick that on my calendar and see if I can make it. I work weekends now, so we'll see if we can make it. I'll have a look at the date. Right, so we're no surprise on that, have we? Christ, we're motoring through this, David.
Yeah. I mean, this is. I had a wee bit of a to and fro with somebody on Facebook regarding what is causing inflation, right? And the general belief now is, it's the energy companies, it's greed, it's profiteering, it's causing that. No, it isn't. It's Brexit. And shall I tell you why it's Brexit? Because back before we left the EU, we were in a system whereby the electricity and the gas was sold at spot price in Europe. Hang on, David, let me finish it. Okay. And it worked, and it still works in Europe, and it's still going in Europe. Now we have moved away from that, and the electricity producers can do what they like. Yes?
That's where
the profiteering comes in.
We are suffering worse with inflation than anywhere else because of Brexit.
Yeah, it's
but if you want to, but David, if you want to look at this with a wee bit of balance, Germany's got 8% inflation. France has got 7% inflation.
Yeah.
The US is at 5.5% inflation.
Yeah.
There is inflationary effects out there out of profiteering. Because there's definitely no wages here. But Brexit means that we've got the highest inflation.
That's right.
It's still sitting at 10.4%. Food inflation is now up at 17.6%. And it looks like they're forecasting, they're claiming that they're going to have half inflation this year. Looks like Davies going to be ticking another one in his prediction book up, isn't it?
Now,
I'll say that it'll not get any lower than 8% because of food price inflation.
Right. Well, there was a little bit of a flurry of news on Sky and on BBC reference that inflation has dropped slightly, right? So I put a post. I do recommend you go to my timeline and have a look at that post about inflation, right? If you're personal, remember, inflation isn't the headline figure that the news puts out to you. It's your personal inflation. So it's what you buy from the supermarket and all the rest of it that makes up your inflation number.
Let's see. Look at basic staples, David.
Yeah,
products up to 8%.
Hang on, David, let me finish this, right? If your inflation number is maybe 15%, right, and so that means that it's your costs are going up by 15%, then it drops to 10%. That doesn't mean that things are 5% cheaper. No, it just means that inflation, you're still paying as much as you were before, but you're now just going up another 10% this time, right?
The other thing about inflation, even if they did half it, it wouldn't bring prices down. It just means they go up less slowly.
That's
so
right.
Let's talk about how it affects different people differently. I mean, let's look at the basic staples.
Yeah.
Dairy products the inflation in dairy products is about 38%.
Yeah.
Bread's went up about the same.
Yeah.
You know, it's mental.
Yeah.
You know, so I mean, eggs, milk, bread, the basics.
Yeah.
They've all went through the bloody roof.
Mm-hmm.
My 6-pack of eggs has went from £1.29 to £1.89.
Yeah.
You know, I was in Lidl's the other day looking at meat prices and thinking, Jesus, where's this going to stop?
Yeah.
4 chicken breasts, £6. 6 chicken breasts a tenner. You can see that is quite good. You know, but if you're on the bread line and you're used to getting in there and buying it at £3, but you find it's £5, £6, or £10 respectively, that's horrific.
Well, you know, I used to boast about Aldi's, right?
Aye.
And it's like we went to Aldi's every few weeks. It was £100. It was never more than £100.
Aye.
It's now 170.
Aye.
Same stuff. Basically, we're going around picking up the same stuff, right?
Aye. There's only 2 years and their food shops shot up for about something like 45 to £49 a week.
Yeah.
Okay, something like 80.
I know.
Nuts. Absolutely nuts. And if 2 years to be honest, hold on. The 2 years we eat quite well, so it's quite expensive. Right, so if I'm paying £80, where's somebody with a family of 4 getting the money if their own benefits to be able to
They're not.
What are they feeding their children?
They're not. They're maybe getting help off a family. They're maybe going to food banks. Don't know. Or they're eating crap. They're eating the cheapest crap they can get their hands on. It's a fucking sin. It really is.
When I was up at Paul's Parcels today, somebody gave me a box of Bell's pies. So, dropped by the supermarket, picked up 6 tins of peas, 6 tins of beans, and 6 bags of pies. To go with a box of 2 packs of pies. And I said, yeah, that's complete meal, so you can break it. I think it was about 12 kilos of potatoes. They could break that down, just, you know, sort of thing. But that was just because a neighbour who works in one of the big food depots here, rather than the stuff going in the bin, the food depots giving it to their staff to save them money, you know. So she get boxes of Bell's pies and come upstairs and give me one, you know.
I feel personally sick because my lass's working, she's got a decent job. I'm still doing what I'm doing, so we're relatively okay. But nobody wins until we all win.
David, but see, this poor nutrition, it's a good point. These kids are getting poor nutrition, so they can't learn properly. They're not developing properly. You know, it's bloody horrific. But I'm glad you somebody. But I mean, food banks, will get to that towards the end because, as you know, David, it's in the subject, all right. One is subject. Right, let's move on to number 8 because time is starting to batter on and we've still got a few subjects to get through. And that is the House of Lords putting the boot into the Commons by exempting Scotland and Wales from the anti-strike laws in England.
Yeah. Bad news for England. Bad news for England, right? And we have a situation where, as we just said, the government, the UK government, taking the nurses to court is, excuse, I won't French it. I won't.
Well, the thing is, you find people in the public service now, and they're basically conscripts in their jobs.
Yeah.
No, I watched Mick Lynch showing about this, and he just tell them, it doesn't matter what you say. They also put an amendment in so that people who are forced to work in England and refuse to do it, refuse to break the picket, can't be sacked.
Yeah.
So that's the two big amendments to the anti-strike laws that are going through, which will now should only affect England, only England actually. But when you get right down here, that's what most of the civil service is. Thanks, Eddie. Very, very generous of you.
Thanks, Eddie. Thank you very much.
Now, listen, while we're on that, that's there. The bank account's nearly ready, folks. So what we'll do is, we'll still keep the super chat and super sticker feature on, but in the bit that says the topical chat show, once we've got the bank account sorted, we'll put in the sort code and the account number, and that way, if you want to make the deposit direct, and that way, Google and YouTube are now whacking it for 30%. And all these people on Facebook that might want to make a donation would be able to make a donation.
Yeah, just to add to that, whilst we're on doing the show after that, right, what you do is you just tell us that you put maybe a $5 or whatever it is, and we'll get a chance to thank you there and then. Okay.
Aye.
So that's
aye, during the show, just put a wee one-liner and donated to, and your sum, and we'll read them out as they come through. Now, so because we know that there's people in the Facebook audience who would love to be able to help as well. So that way, if we put it in the description where it says Topical Chat Show, then, and what's going to happen, folks, is it will be electronic transfers to the charities that we choose, and at the end of the year, we'll put up a statement so you can see what's went in and what's went out. It'll be fully transparent.
Okay. To be honest with you, neither he nor I wanted anything to do with money. That's why we always kept away from the crowdfunders and all the rest of it, right? With no interest in it, right? But this was something that was prompted by you guys. You wanted this super chat thing. So consequently, we had to respond. But we don't want anything out of it. All we'll do is we'll direct the money to this food bank or that food bank. That's all. Okay.
That's all we'll do. We'll just phone up the bank and say, pay X amount to this cause, and here's the details.
Yeah.
Pay X amount to that cause, and you'll be able to see it going out. You know.
Thanks,
man. I know your circumstances, so behave yourself, young man. But thanks very much, Hugh. Right, where are we? Aye, so good news. The Lords have exempted Scotland and Wales. And an amendment using archaic laws, it means the Commons are not going to be able to change it.
Yeah.
You know? So there you go. Right, let's move on.
It'd be lovely if they could do that with the illegal migration bill.
Aye, wouldn't it? Anyway, let's move on. Legislation to remove the not proven verdict from Scots law has just been through the Scottish Parliament.
To be honest with you, I've always had an odd feeling about the not proven thing, right? It seems to be a get out for a jury, right?
Aye, but the thing about it is, David, the reason for it really was we didn't have double jeopardy laws.
Yes. Right,
so if it was not proven, it meant the investigation could go on. If evidence then comes up, the person could be dragged back into court. But now we have double jeopardy laws, then I guess not proven is not really that much necessary anymore. The one that worries me more is reducing the amount of jurors from 15 to 12 in line with most other countries.
Yeah.
Because I like the idea of it being different.
Yeah.
Thanks very much, Phil. Very generous. And the other one that bothers me a wee bit about they want to move on to judge-led trials and sexual offences, meaning juries, to make things easier for the victims and, of course, those who are accused, apparently. When it comes to giving testimonies, then the judge will decide rather than the jury.
Yeah.
Now, people seem to be kicking up an awful fuss about that one. Me, I'm not that bothered about it. Why? Because most cases that go through the Scottish courts go through what we call the district courts.
Yeah.
And they're all sheriff-led. There's no juries.
Yeah.
You know, but they're going to trial this with the jury-led, the judge-led thing in rape and sexual offence cases. So
I actually think that is the better thing, where it is a rape case and it's just a judge that sits in judgment of that case. I think that to be in the cut and thrust of a jury case, any lass that's been pulled into that, it put them off. It puts them off. You know.
Phil's right. He doesn't like using super chat because 30% is taken off.
Yeah.
So he says, here's £7. Thanks very much, Phil. And that's the reason why we're going to that's the reason why we're going to add on a bank account so that you can bypass that 30%. We're still going to leave the super chat on because it's always nice to hear for you guys if you don't want to do it that way.
We've called the bank account the Two Davies, so you'll be able to identify easily, right? So,
and as I say, at the end of the year, we'll publish the account so everybody can see where it went, how it went there, and who got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
So we've done that bit to death. Anyway, I'll say legislation to remove the not proven verdict. As I say before, when we had no double jeopardy, if you were found not guilty, you couldn't be dragged back to the courts. Then we could see the reason for not proven. Now that we have double jeopardy laws, thanks, Lenny. Now that we have double jeopardy laws, then the not proven verdict's not really that necessary anymore.
Yeah.
You know. Right, let's move on. Latest figures for food parcels are out, and in 2022, the Trussell Trust says they and their associated food banks, they helped just shy of 3 million people with emergency food parcels. No, people are going to lie. We're talking about emergency food parcels here.
Mm-hmm.
You know. Anyway, the actual figure for emergency food parcels last year to the Trussell Trust was 2,986,203.
Yeah.
And that's up 50% since 2016.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And here in Scotland, food bank use in the last 12 months has increased by 30%.
Yeah.
Absolutely horrific report. I was reading it last night, and right, I'm reading something like that right on the back of that carry on the comments. I was already at a low ebb, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, it's ripping them. It's ripping the soul out of me watch it, having to read this pish and look at this pish and know that so many other people are suffering that badly. You know.
It's
right, Chris. Food banks are a bloody outrage. As I say, I was there making a donation to one this morning. As I say, I'm not doing this film and shit and things like that. All these other, you know.
No,
I mean, with the MD2 Cafe, we were very, very careful. They didn't get near any of the people who were using. You know, we had a run a food bank, but there was a way for anybody who was there. We didn't record anybody who was in distress and needing a food bank because that's poverty porn. And we're not doing that.
Yeah.
And that's why Dave and I are going to go with electronic transfers.
Yeah, it's fair enough speaking to the manageress of a food bank and saying, I'm going to send you X amount. Right, fine, tell me that, and that it's done. And then it's just I give them a call 30 minutes later. Is it in? Right, aye, good, there you are, get on.
Aye, you know. And David's going to generally get food banks in his area, but I'm going to bounce it round about because you guys come from all over Scotland.
To be honest with you, I'm not precious about that. If there is a particular place that has a particular need. However, the last one I gave to was Drumchapel, and it was in a particularly bad spot.
Aye. It's one of the biggest housing estates in Europe, for Christ's sake.
Yeah.
You know, and obviously the last lot I gave to PA Falls Parcels, The next tranche that comes to me to be distributed, I'll probably give it to Baby Bank Scotland, and then we'll work our way round the block, you know.
Yeah.
But the latest figures are horrendous, and that's only Trussell Trust food banks, folks, or Trussell Trust associated food banks. You've got to remember there are millions of independents like Paul's Parcels. You know, it's dire out there. It is dire. People are dying in their droves. Right.
David, hang on. This thing about people dying, poverty, it's the way that it works. According to my wife, who's a public health nurse, she says, isn't that maybe where you've got people dying of starvation, right? However, when you take some people get so malnourished that a simple flu or a bad cold or whatever can take them. That's the problem. That's the real problem. If you've got poor nutrition, then the simplest of things can take you. Right? It isn't just you're dying of starvation. Yeah, technically, but it's not that. So just putting that in.
But we know from stats that hospitals are seeing more and more people suffer from malnutrition.
Yeah.
You know.
What about the number of kids suffering with rickets? Now that's a pre-war thing, that is, right? Rickets. My goodness me. You know that's kids not getting any vegetables, like greens or whatever, right? Bloody hell, what we're doing. As somebody said, that's the UK. It's just plumbing going right down the hill, and Scotland's getting dragged with it. Doesn't matter if we've got the finest food and drink in the world, we're still getting dragged in the thing because our people aren't getting their hands on it.
Just heard you on the info on your food banks stuff. I'm delighted with what you have just said, and I'm very happy to help in this way. Whereas the way things are at present, you don't deal with let's see what Anita's got to say. See what? Yeah. You don't deal with you just don't deal. Right, the way things are at present. Aye, okay. Anita, we'll put the details up. And say David and I have never been interested in crowdfunding and things like that. But we had to get involved here.
Millie Jameson says, I belong to a group called Care to Knit. We knit blankets, hats, scarves, gloves for the vulnerable. Any knitters, crocheters out there, why not start a group in your own local area? In actual fact, I've got a friend called Linda Turbot. I did ask her, but the problem is with the wool. Wool is so damn expensive at the moment. It really is, and it's like she said, I couldn't afford to, I'm not going to say the lass is broke. She's not. She's professional, but still no. The actual wool to actually provide stuff for other people is so expensive.
Adele says the situation with nutrition is a public health crisis.
Yeah.
So it really is. And Lorraine says it's class genocide. The rich eat, the poor starve.
Yeah. Yes. Exactly. And I really do not know what we're going to do. Hey guys, I've got an idea. Let's just become an independent country, and then we can sort the whole thing out ourselves. How's about that?
Right. We've applied for funding through a GCC, Millie. I hope you get it.
Yeah.
I hope you get it.
Good.
Good stuff. So let's move on because time's moving on, David. We had a lot to get through the day, and Miss Sturgeon's return to the Holyrood yesterday, and of course the press pack we're waiting for. I know.
I think it's now becoming a bit too obvious that you would have thought if there was that kind of an investigation going on, she would have been pulled in for questioning.
Aye.
Because she lives with the first guy that they pulled in.
Aye.
Yeah, right. And I just think it's rather interesting that there she was. She turned up on the front doorstep of Holyrood, and wow, you know, she said her top was worth, but she couldn't say very much.
Aye. We'll get to about the idea of the Bank of England today. I see Richard Murphy took him on it. He said we're better off used to being poorer. Thanks to Brexit.
Yeah. What a thing to say. What a thing to say. What a thing for such a gentleman to actually come out with.
He was being interviewed in America, and the only thing he didn't mention was bloody Brexit.
No.
Anyway, Nicola, she arrives at Holyrood, the press pack bounce over her, and you know, and of course her hands are tied, she can't say nothing, but she makes it clear she wants to.
Yeah.
And she's looking forward to the time when she can.
Yeah.
But when we talk about 600,000, the Tories are still being investigated for 3.8 million, which was spent but wasn't accounted for at the last election.
You want to do a list like that? What about the 27 million for the 27 billion for the lost PPE? What about the money that was wasted on the blooming track and trace system?
I never mind that. Listen, let's stick to political parties, shall we? Anyway, Colin Beattie's clarified that he didn't know the camper van was being purchased, but he did see it was in the 2021 account, so he did know about it.
Yes.
Right, so he just clarified that he didn't know it was being purchased. And the reason for the van, and everybody's having a laugh about it was purchased at the height of the pandemic, and the idea was that some of our MSPs and MPs have got big constituencies.
Yeah.
And getting into hotels wasn't viable or wasn't safe, or they just weren't open.
That's right. Yes, if you
so
remember.
You have somewhere for them to some way for them to travel around and have somewhere to bed down overnight in some of these bigger constituencies up in the north.
Yeah.
It made bloody sense.
Yeah.
You know, it made bloody sense to have to purchase the bloody thing.
But the MSN, sorry, are not interested in common sense, are they?
No.
They're just whatever they can make a story out of.
Huh?
Yeah. SNP bad. SNP bad. SNP bad.
Aye, and it's been going on now for years.
Yeah.
And there is nothing wrong with these accounts, folks.
I think what may happen is that at the end of the day, everybody's just going to go quiet on it, and then Nicola will come out with her husband Peter, and they'll make a statement, or they'll get interviewed by somebody at some point, and that'll be the end of it. We will not hear the full thing of where it came from and all the rest of it, because the real but David, that won't come out. That won't come out. The real culprit, we think, sits in Scotland, the Scotland office. Yeah.
Aye.
Right. So therefore, that's not going to come out. That person is going to be protected.
But when you look at the state of the main parties and the hypocrisy, Labour, Tory and Lib Dem here in Scotland demanding that the SNP, in the interest of transparency, publish the amount of members they've got.
Yeah.
So the SNP and the Greens, who have published the member list, and Alpha say they've got about 7,000 members. The Greens are 7,860 odd members. The SNP 72,000 members. So they've asked the Tories and Lib Dems and Labour here in Scotland to publish their membership. And they're all refused point blank.
Yeah.
So they demand transparency from the pro-independence parties, but they're not willing to show the same transparency to the people of Scotland themselves. Wow.
Yeah.
Talk about rank hypocrisy.
It is a wee bit sad when it comes to things like that.
Basically, as you said, David, they want to look in at what's going on in the pro-independence movement and the pro-independence parties to give them a heads up on what's coming down the line. Whereas they're not quite willing to be quite so transparent with the Scottish public themselves.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. just having a wee look up for something that I popped up online. Yeah. Basically, what I said about the three cuckoos in the nest, as David likes to call them. I put up one called Numbers Count. We will look at the possible numbers of members of London parties in Scotland and ask them to publish those numbers. Well, of course, they refused to publish their membership figures. To do so would show just how tiny their support actually is. When we hear a leader of the Tories in Scotland telling his members to vote Labour in order to keep the SNP out, then you know just how desperate things have become for them. The other laugh is the Lib Dems. I call them the flip-flop party. If you vote for them, you don't know who you're actually voting for, because in a hung parliament, they'll jump into bed with either Labour or Tory to help form a government. As a voter, I wouldn't listen to any of their pledges because none of them will survive the marriage. The main common denominator, the political party that they can't possibly overtake, is the Scottish National Party. The SNP is therefore a common foe or enemy of the man. I have only one thing to say then: stick it to the man before the man sticks it to you. In other words, join the SNP as quick as you can and make sure that you vote SNP to keep the London headquartered parties out of Scotland. Even though they might have the word Scottish as part of their names, they are no more Scottish than a flock of Morris dancers. They carry out the orders of their masters in London and try to make it look as if they're acting in the best interest of the people of Scotland. That isn't and never has been the case.
Tom's telling us, CTV Tom's telling us, read an article regarding Sean Querty getting into government police station, and the sergeant telling him to get up to day one. So he went to his local cop shop to get the fraud squad involved. There you go.
There you are, wonderful, eh?
But I say the sheer hypocrisy, David. It's comical. Christ, we just managed to get through all these subjects, David. You thought we were going to do it in 45 minutes, Dave. 11 subjects to discuss today. That was good going.
I reckon 47 minutes would have a lot done. We'd be one struggling.
Aye. So I hope you found entertaining, and we hope you found it informative.
That's a very interesting comment Tom put up. I must admit.
Yeah. I think I remember reading that article myself, actually.
Yeah. Anyway, hi Tom. How you doing?
That's very true, Gordon. Scottish Conservatives and Scottish Labour don't have any members because they actually don't exist. They're no political parties. It's London where these parties are registered, and they're cuckoos in the nest.
Yes.
Simple as that.
Yeah.
Absolutely simple as that. But they say we're doing a wind up, David, so I'll let you do it this time.
Yeah, all right, okay. If you like what we did, give us a like. If you haven't subscribed to us yet, please subscribe. Please. We need to get the numbers up, right? Okay. If you've given us a donation, thank you. And you know that they're going to good use, any monies that you put in. Right. So one other thing is, it's David's timeline that the Facebook is going out on. So don't share his time from his timeline straight away. Give him time to make it public, because Facebook do funny things with his Facebook account now. All right. So I think that just leaves us to say bye-bye, Davey.
Bye, Davey. Bye, folks.
Bye.